Hello friends, welcome back to my tiny kitchen. I am Quintana, here with another recipe to share with you. And I decided this week that I'm going to try a recipe that I have never made before. Could be an epic fail. Let's hope it's not. And on top of that, I'm not a baker, but I decided that I would attempt to bake bread for the first time in front of you. I just hope it all goes well. I found this recipe on a website called Butter with a Side of Bread, and it says easy homemade bread. And I've read extensively through the directions on how to do it. I read through the comments. It seems like it is going to be an easy recipe to make, so let's hope. Let's hope. Here goes nothing. Okay, so now we move on to the parade of ingredients. We're going to start with 2 cups of warm water. You don't want it too hot. And then 1/2 cup of monk fruit sugar. I'm using monk fruit sugar. You can use white sugar, but I'm trying to use a little less of that. And from the research that I did, it seems that monk fruit sugar works as a sugar substitute in baking and cooking, so we'll see. Isn't it a great idea that I'm trying this for the first time? And then we have 1.5 tablespoons of dry yeast. You can use instant or active. That's what this recipe says. So I have active dry yeast, 1.5 tablespoons. And then we have 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I'm using kosher salt. 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. And then of course we're going to use flour, which I'm not going to show here because we're going to add it 1 cup at a time. And the recipe says that we're going to use about 5 to 6 cups. So I will let you know after I've made my bread, which is what we're going to do now. Wish me luck. Okay, so the first step in this recipe calls to dissolve 1 tablespoon of the sugar in the warm water in a large mixing bowl. And this is the bowl that I'm going to be using to mix my bread. So that's the bowl I'll be using. So we got our warm water. You want it a little bit warmer than lukewarm. And I'm going to get 1 tablespoon of the monk fruit sugar, get it in there. Okay, so that's dissolved, and now we have to put the yeast in there and let it proof for, it says, about 5 minutes. All right, now we're going to give it 5 minutes. All right, so I let it proof for a little bit more than 5 minutes. We have the bubbles, and now we're going to add the rest of the sugar, the salt, and the oil. So let's get to doing that. All right. All right, and now I'm going to add my bread flour, 1 cup at a time. So there is 1. Let's go. Okay, so that is our dough after mixing it. She said the dough should be tacky, check, and it should clean the sides of the bowl, check-ish. That's clean enough for me. And then the next step, she said we're going to knead it with the dough hook for 7 minutes. And she says if you're doing it by hand, which thankfully I'm not, you're going to do it for about 10 to 11 minutes, knead your dough. But my next step is to knead it with my dough hook for 7 minutes. So I'll see you on the flip side. All right, well, here is our dough that's been kneaded for 7 minutes. It's kind of bouncy and springy, which it's good. That's good. That's a good sign. And now I'm supposed to turn it out into a well-oiled bowl. So let's do that. I've got my bowl that I sprayed with canola oil. And now we're gonna turn out the dough. Wish me luck. All right, so turned out. Now it says to turn all around the bowl to coat with the oil. So that's what I'm gonna do. Make sure it's all coated with the oil. And then the recipe said to cover it with plastic wrap or paper towel, like a kitchen towel. But she did suggest to use plastic wrap. Or she suggested that might be better because it'll hold the warmth and the moisture in for the rise. So we're going to cover it with the plastic wrap and let it rise for 1 hour. Okay, so this is my dough doubled in size. I will say that I let it rise for maybe about an hour and a half. And because she did say on her website that temperature can affect the timing of the rise, and my apartment was a little bit cooler because it is cooler now. So I gave it a little bit more time. So now I have to dump it out onto the mat and knead it for 1 more minute. So let's do that. All right, here goes nothing. Okay, so now I've divided my dough in half and I have my bread pans prepared. She said to well oil them. So again, I sprayed them with canola oil. So I have my bread pan here. I tried to shape it kind of in a loaf, I don't know, we'll see. And of course, she's like, I don't like the dark baking pans, whatever. But you know what? It's all I have. So that's what we're gonna do. So, I don't know. I've never made bread like this before. I will say I did make sourdough before a couple times, and it was fun, but I wanted to make just a regular bread. So she said and then I have another pan. I'm going to put the second half in there, and then we're going to let these rise for another half an hour. And one of the suggestions she made, due to temperature, if it's too cold, I turned the oven on just for a couple minutes to get it heated up a little bit and then turned it off so it traps a little bit of the heat. And I'm going to let my bread do their second rise in the oven in their bread pans. And then as soon as they have risen, she said to about 1 inch above the top of the pan, once they're ready to go, I'll just turn on the oven and let them bake. So let's put the other half in the other bread pan. All right, my pretty little loaves off to do their second rise I'm going to put mine in my warm oven for half an hour. Okay, so here are my 2 loaves that have now been rising in the oven for almost an hour. I know the recipe said until they rise about an inch above the top of the pan. I don't think that's going to happen. They seem to have doubled. So I'm just going to go ahead and start the bake. So I'm going to leave these in the oven and then heat the oven to 350 and bake them for 30 to 40 minutes. Wish me luck. And here are my loaves. I think they look pretty. They smell really nice. They should be between 190 and 200 degrees, which I tested and we're good to go. So now the recipe said to leave them in the pans for about 15 to 20 minutes, let them cool in the pans, and then we're going to dump them out on the cooling racks and let them finish cooling then. All right, they've been cooling for 15 minutes in their pan. Now I'm going to turn them out on the racks to let them cool even more. Should definitely get some pot holders. Oh, it looks pretty. It smells delicious. So look at my pretty loaves. All right, so I'm gonna let them cool. I'm gonna put a towel over them and let them cool for about half an hour before we do our taste test. So I'll see you then. Ooh, so now this is the final portion of the recipe. She recommended to brush some melted butter on the top, so I'm going to do that. I melted about a tablespoon of butter, so let's get to brushing. There we have it, beautiful homemade bread. I can't wait for it to be tasted. Look at that beautiful, delicious piece of bread. At least it looks delicious. I won't know until we have our favorite taste tester, Dan, give it a taste.
All right.
There we go.
My goodness. I was already eating it with my eyes and my nose, but this tastes better than I could have imagined.
Oh, yay.
Mm-hmm.
Make a good sandwich?
I'd make good anything. Definitely a good sandwich.
Thanks. There you have it, folks. You guys, I can't believe I did it. Holy cow. But I will say, maybe I'll do this more often. Maybe I'll try very first time recipes for you more often. It was kind of fun and it was an easy homemade bread recipe. I highly suggest you try it. If I can do it, I'm sure you can do it. And you heard our taste tester. He said the bread would make a great anything. So I'm gonna hopefully make more things with my bread, maybe French toast, maybe some croutons, who knows, I don't know. The possibilities are endless, kind of, I guess, I don't know. But thank you anyway for coming back and watching another recipe. I love having you in my tiny kitchen. Let me know if you try to make it. Share some photos. You know how much I love those. Tell your friends, like and subscribe and spread the word. Also, now more than ever, if you haven't already, vote, 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 vote. The revolution is happening. See you next week.